Howdy guys, Bookie Laura here. Now, a few weeks ago now, I became across the website NetGalley. I hadn't heard of it before, and I think I heard about it on the Dyslexic Readers channel because she made reference to the fact that you can get digital ebook ARCs, and I thought, wow, that sounds cool. I have spent a great deal of time on there since, and one of the first books that I was sent a copy of was Valley of Time by Jeremy Holden. I read that book over the course of the last week, and this is my book review of it. When I read about the book on NetGalley and decided to read it, I think I was really intrigued by the sci-fi element. It was a time where I wanted to read more sci-fi, and when I read the synopsis, it didn't give too much away, but I was aware that it was about time travel and spaceships, and I just thought, do you know what, that is exactly what I read. And I can't say that I was disappointed. It actually did exactly what it said on the tin. It was a quality, detailed piece of science fiction, which is something that I really enjoy. I like getting into the science of the fiction. I like that, you know, that's why Michael Crichton appeals to me, because I like to almost be involved with the science and understanding something rather than just being told it and accepting it. For the basic synopsis, I mean, it's very difficult to sort of summarise without giving away too many plot details, but the main character is called Mal, and he experiences something which is unusual, and he's asked to investigate, you know, a spacecraft sighting. A lot of people in a country in Africa saw something in the sky, and he is asked to investigate it. And once he takes part in that investigation, he gets involved in all of, you know, the science and the intrigue and the mystery behind it, and you know, and there's time travel. That's all I'm saying. I must admit there was a huge part of the book where I was reading it and thinking, what on earth has this got to do with time travel? But it does get there in the end, I promise. One thing I will say about this book is that although I enjoyed it, and actually in the end I gave it 4 stars, the very, very start I absolutely detested. I don't know what it was about it, but I remember thinking, wow, I'm not going to get books off NetGalley anymore if this is the quality of them. There was something about it. I described it as it felt like there was no sort of control over the writing at all. It felt like, and I described it this way, so apologies, but it felt like somebody just vomiting up information on a page, and you as the reader being forced to organise that in your brain. And the start section of the book I found really dreadful, to be honest, and I contemplated not carrying on. It is a different sort of style. It's first person, which is always a difficult thing to convey, I think. And yeah, and it was just like, oh, this, oh, and by the way, this, oh, and it was shooting all over the place, and I found that quite intense. And like I say, it just felt like there was no control. However, it did improve. I don't know whether I don't think it was because I got used to it. I think it's because it genuinely did improve. And actually, it got to a point where the writing was more controlled, and perhaps those first sections, I don't know, maybe they were intended to be that way, but it was really annoying. Another thing that I feel like I'm saying lots of negatives about this book that I actually enjoyed, but another thing that I noticed, I suppose, rather than disliked, was that it relied a lot on speech to tell the story. And I've noticed this is often a common theme in sci-fi, I think because they're focused more on an idea and a concept and explaining that. So they get characters to just have conversations where they explain in detail the science behind stuff. And I find that quite annoying. Like, I think I want action, I want stuff to happen rather than just two characters talking about an idea. So I did find it quite annoying. However, I liked it as well, because actually, like I said previously, I do enjoy that kind of science talk. I do enjoy getting fully 100% involved and committed in a scientific idea, a sci-fi idea, rather than just being like, oh, and then there's this spacecraft, and just having to accept it. I like to understand the science behind it. So although it was quite annoying that it relied so heavily on speech, I actually quite liked it, and I thought it worked quite well, but I can see it wouldn't necessarily work well for other readers. For this reason, it didn't come as a massive surprise to me when I reached the end of the book and found, I believe, that the author had also written a few non-fiction books, because it reads kind of like that. It reads about as though it's written by somebody who loves science and loves that kind of explaining of stuff, and rather than a really exciting plot. So it felt like a guy who's really good at writing non-fiction having a go at writing fiction, and not doing dreadfully, but equally it not quite being his forte. I could imagine that he writes a damn good non-fiction book, to be honest. My final sort of particular thing that stood out was that I found the main character really irritating. Like, I think he was supposed to be this really good guy, and he was, you know, he didn't really do anything wrong. He was always, you know, good and moral and wonderful and in love. They kept talking about how wonderful his love life was, which was lovely, but felt irrelevant. But I found that actually if I met this guy in real life, oh my God, every time he was in an uncomfortable situation, he had to make a joke. And sometimes you just wanted to be like, do you know what, Mal? Get a sodding grip, you know? Like, you don't have to tell a joke now. It's so you're feeling a bit uneasy, or so you're in a nervous situation. Don't tell the bad jokes. Oh, it was quite annoying. But, you know, I think that says more about me than it does about the book. Anyway, moving on. So overall, I would describe this as a really good sort of scientific concept, a really good idea that is well thought out and well described and explained, and actually, and quite exciting. There is an element of mystery, but I think it does a lot more explaining and delving into the idea than it does telling a story. So it depends on, I think, where your preferences lie. If you enjoy reading non-fiction, and if you enjoy reading science fiction where things are explained in detail and you get a really good understanding, i.e. Michael Crichton books, then I think you'll really enjoy it. However, I can see that a lot of readers would go into this waiting for a more exciting plot, waiting for more development of characters, and not getting that. So, not a bad book. I did give it 4 stars, but I think a lot of people perhaps wouldn't feel the same way about it, that they would struggle with the flatness of the characters, the lack of authenticity in the relationships, and generally, you know, vomiting of information on the first few pages may be quite overwhelming. So that's my feelings on Valley of Time. If you've read it, then let me know. If you've read something similar, that would be cool to hear about too. And I shall report back on another arc as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.